You're listening to MinerTalk on demand exclusively on 600 ESPN El Paso. Stay up to date with MinerTalk by downloading the free 600 ESPN El Paso mobile app.
UTEP fans, it's time for MinerTalk with Adrian Broadus and Sal Montes. MinerTalk is presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. 7 locations across El Paso from the west side to Fabens. Wind Supply El Paso. Locate your nearest champion dealer at windsupplyelpaso.com. And Keats Southwest, leading the industry in precision metal stamping since 1958. Call into the show at 880-5763 or tweet the show at 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Now, let's go live to the Lube & Go studios with your hosts, Adrian Broadus and Sal Montes.
That's it. It's over. Middle Tennessee defeats UTEP 66-59. Quarterfinal matchups of the Conference USA Tournament. It was an emotional roller coaster of a game. Oh, man, my heart breaks for the UTEP fans out there. What a roller coaster ride of this one, because Middle Tennessee dominated this game for the majority of this one. And, they went into the half with a 25-21 lead. It was just gritty. It was back and forth. Middle Tennessee was without their, second team all-conference player in Josh Jefferson. He was out in this game. He was in crutches. Instead, it's the backcourt of Middle Tennessee. It's what they're able to do inside the paint. They just grind you out. UTEP couldn't get anything going offensively up until the 15-minute mark. Then they started doing an open ball screen, setup offensively, and they got back into it. Defensively, UTEP was steady all night long. They forced a lot of great turnovers down the stretch, and I thought that's what really helped UTEP march back into this. And when UTEP came back, you kind of felt like, wow, this team is going to do it. It's kind of that magic right there. It's the spark that UTEP needed to finally come back. It was Sule Boom hitting shots after going 0 for whatever, to start off this game. He surpasses Omega Harris on the ninth as the ninth all-time leading scorer in program history. He finishes out possibly his UTEP career with those kinds of numbers right there and what he did today. You had Keontae Kennedy make some late-game buckets. Jamari Sibley draining a corner three to help propel the Miners late in the game, but it wasn't enough. Middle Tennessee, just a quick stat for everybody to look at. People wanted to talk about the fouls. I get it. I understand the refs, in this one were very questionable. UTEP called for 6 fouls in the last 5 minutes of regulation. Middle Tennessee only called for 1 foul. Pivotal no call for goaltending. I know a lot of people were upset all over social media, but the point is UTEP did not prevail in this game. Heartbreaking loss for Miner players in the locker room. You heard from head coach Joe Golding in the post-game interview, and I think that was more telling than what we saw today. I mean, alluding to no postseason play for the Miners, that they might lean that direction, not taking that postseason bid and focusing on recruiting, alluding to possibly a new-shaped roster. Something that we were talking about. We didn't know if it was going to be a reality, but it looks like it could be a possibility if, in fact, people end up going into the transfer portal. I know there are a lot of split opinions about this from the UTEP fan base, but it's just the reality. The transfer portal season is upon us now. The time clicks right here, and it's UTEP going into the offseason with a little bit of uncertainty. There's so much, and let me be clear about this. This was a successful season for UTEP by all means. 19-13 to finish out the year. In year one of Joe Golding, they hit so many different milestones all across the board. I think fans are sold on Joe Golding, media members are sold on Joe Golding, players are sold on Joe Golding. But again, when the transfer portal season comes around, it's decisions for these players made by not the players, not their coaches, not, it's the people around them. It could be their AAU coach. It could be a parent back home. It could be a friend of theirs who they trust with their business ventures. It's just the reality of college basketball. And it's the reality when you have a first-year head coach with players that he didn't recruit. These are guys who come from the Rodney Terry cycle. And, for better or for worse, I'm with everybody who says that most of these players improved throughout this year. I think that this men's basketball team has overachieved by all measures this season. But, when you hit the offseason, there comes a lot of uncertainty. I'm not saying it's impossible that UTEP will play in a postseason tournament if they get invited to the right one. Maybe they do. Maybe they do play postseason play and they run it back and they kind of get a bitter taste in their mouth after this Middle Tennessee loss. Who knows? But I think that this post-game interview for head coach Joe Golding was very telling. You could just hear how tired he was after this season. I mean, it was an adversity-filled season with a lot of different things that ended up happening. I mean, remember, at one point this season, this team was struggling. And I mean, it was kind of teetering at some points. And you got to give a lot of credit for this team for rallying back. You look at how they lost 3 in a row, and they were 9-6, 0-2 in conference play Saturday, January 8th. Just over 500 at that point. And the Miners were kind of wavering at that. They were teetering on different levels. Yet they were able to pick it up midway into the season without the likes of Keontae Kennedy. They get him back in the late part of the season, and they surge. They have a great stretch to close out this year. And again, I call it a very successful season. I call it a promising season for year one. But in my eyes, I'm looking to the offseason. This is recruiting season for UTEP to go through. And I apologize. I'm mistaken. By January 6th, UTEP was 7-7. They were 500. They were 0-2 in conference play. Point is, this team turned it around when it really mattered in the end. They won 19 games overall, flirted with 20 wins in the first year of Joe Golding. That's a success in my book.
Yeah, and I think we got to see a lot of the groundwork being laid in that first season. For Coach Golding really to have the guys buy in was huge, because it seemed just about any game that the Miners were in or were playing, they had a legit chance to win the game. I mean, sure, there was some blowouts. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the first game against Middle Tennessee, Super Bowl Sunday against Marshall. Shout out to Judy McLeod for setting that up. So many different games where the Miners, didn't really find themselves in it. But aside from those, when you look at a large portion of these, they were successful in a lot of these close games, and something that fans were looking forward to. I mean, we got to see them become a competitive team, and then at certain points we got to see them win the games that they were supposed to win. So a lot of progress from the beginning to the end.
Oh, no doubt about it, Sal. 880-5763, that's our telephone number to get into the program. We'll open up the phone lines right now. I know a lot of people have various opinions on this game, on this season. I know a lot of people are upset with the refs. We'll get into all those different things and more. I just want to leave everybody with 2 things real quick. On the postseason, on the transfer portal. Number one, with the postseason, I think there are pros and cons for it. I'm not against it. I'm just telling you what I'm for. And I'm for UTEP turning the page, having some finality to the season, like head coach Joe Golding said in the postgame interview, and turning their attention and focus to recruiting. Use all the momentum that they had right here in 19 wins and go and get some good players out of the transfer portal to fill the roles that you need. So that's at least where I stand on this. Miner fans are going to suggest that UTEP plays in postseason tournaments so that they could benefit, maybe for their own sake. Like, hey, I'm a UTEP fan. I want to see this team progress in the CBI or the basketball classic. What's that going to do? No one remembers that. I'm sorry, but no one does. No one remembers those kinds of tournaments right there, and if you bow out early, then what's the point? And if you have players who are already with one foot out the door and leaving this program at UTEP, what's the point? This was the window right here. This was their opportunity to have that postseason tournament. That's where I stand on this. Now, I'm not saying if UTEP does play postseason tournament that I'm against it. That's not what I'm saying at all. If UTEP ends up playing in that, they end up getting some revenue with it for ticket sales, or it increases their brand by playing postseason basketball. If you're telling me everybody's coming back next year, sure, why not? I'm not saying that I'm opposing it. I'm just telling you what I'm in favor of. And then my second point is the transfer portal. It comes for every basketball team across college basketball. It is college basketball free agency, like in the NFL, in baseball, in basketball, whatever it may be. It's free agency in college basketball, and that's what the transfer portal allows players to do. It's the one-time transfer rule where you could do that, or you could just apply for a waiver and be immediately eligible as long as your coach signs off on it. So I just want to caution everybody about this. I'm not saying it's going to be a mass exodus, but I'm not going to say that it's going to be the entire team coming back. I think that if you're UTEP right now, you just try to build on the players that are willing to come back, and you try to get the best players out there in the transfer portal.
And you know what, too? Let's say there is a hit in the transfer portal. Do you still have confidence in Coach Joe Golding to have whoever he brings in buy into the system? And that's really the first step to having the team be competitive in general. And I think the answer is yes. So
yeah.
Even if the transfer portal hits UTEP pretty hard, who's to say that UTEP isn't benefiting from the transfer portal by guys seeing what UTEP did this season as well? So
that could definitely happen.
Coaches can definitely use that to their advantage. But it's just a matter of who's coming, who's going, but no matter what, that's funny. I said it's just a matter, but no matter. Either way, though, Coach Joe Golding is still going to be with the Miners next year, and that's something that you can, you can have confidence in by having new guys or continued guys buy into that process again for next year.
Yeah, that's a great mentality to have there, Sal. I agree with that completely. 880-5763. I know we're going to get a ton of calls here on the show. Let's get some tweets read real quick before we get to Kurt here, who's going to join us first on the show. Eric Fournier tweets the show, Joe Golding needs to work those refs. Obviously goaltending, and he took those calls like a pansy. Oh, man, that's coming from Eric Fournier. That's tough right there, man. Come on. Bryce Chauvin tweets the show, good season, Miners. Fought hard tonight. Thank you all for a great season. Should have gotten a better shot on that last possession of regulation. The Golding era has just begun. Picks up. Bryce, real quick, on the late game situation, I get it. UTEP has to be better in late game management, and Joe Golding owned up to it. He said in the post game interview that he's taken all ownership for this game, and he called it. He took responsibility after this loss.
Yeah, and he said, that's on him. He's got to have his guys, be ready for. I'm paraphrasing here, but be ready for that situation and just execute a little bit better. But at the end of the day, though, Middle Tennessee's led by Conference USA Coach of the Year, and we got to see a team in Middle Tennessee who was able to execute down the stretch. They know what to do, and they're doing this without their best player as well. They knew what the stakes were, and somebody has to win the game.
No, you're exactly right on that, Sal. Let's keep things moving. 880-5763. Kurt is joining us first on the phone lines. Kurt, good evening. What's going on?
How you doing, guys?
Doing fine, Kurt. How about you?
Real good. Well, first of all, I got a couple questions, and a great game tonight. I mean, I know it went the wrong way for us. The foul disparity was not to our liking, and
sure.
I don't agree with what happened there. But also this portal stuff we are talking about, we're going to get heavy into it because I do believe we're going to lose some guys in this team.
Yep.
And I was at the last home game, and I'm a season ticket holder. And I talked to a few of these guys, and I talked to Boom, and he said he's going to give us some heartfelt. Something about real hard to his heart. I asked Kennedy. He said, we're going to make a run right now. He couldn't give me an answer. So I talked to Bienemy. He said he'll be back. So
that's right.
I think we're going to lose Kennedy and Boom. I don't know. They're on the fence, but those two guys, it's just hard to say right now with all these kids making decisions and stuff. So, and the other big guys, I don't know what they're going to do. We just don't know anymore what these kids think and different situations. But we have to get some major post players, athletic bigs, and get them in here that can play, and not just sit on the bench and be tall. We need the guys that can come play. And
I hear you, Kurt.
Point guard. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. Hey, man, I appreciate the phone call. Appreciate all your support and listening to us here on MinerTalk all season long. You take care. Make sure to keep tabs with us throughout the offseason. We'll be posting some podcasts and doing some fun things. So great talking to you, Kurt, and really appreciate it again on the show. 880-5763, telephone number to get into the program. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Kurt referenced the season finale for the Miners and how he thought that, based off talking to Sule Boom and Keontae Kennedy after the game, he thinks those two players will leave. Here's my thoughts on this. There's a reason why Sule Boom, Titus Verhoeven, Keontae Kennedy were honored on senior day. And, Joe Golding brushed it off and said, hey, they're just honoring the players who are graduating, which it could be possible, but I don't really buy that. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I don't buy that. I think that those players were honored for a reason and could be their last game in a UTEP uniform. You never know. I'm just, we're kind of just speculating here. It's probably the last Miner Talk that we're going to do of the season. So let's lay everything out there right now. Abe is going to join us next on the phones, 880-5763, telephone number to get into the show. Abe, good evening. What's going on?
Good evening, guys.
What's going on, Abe?
No, just what a heartbreaker, but what a wonderful season for, Golding's first year here. We overachieved. Commenting about today's game, I mean, we were watching it on the stadium, and the commentators they kept stressing that Sule Boom had not scored in the first half.
Yep.
But Sule Boom was doing all the other things, the assists, the passes, even a blocked shot, the steals and stuff. And then in the second half, he got into a groove and he came through. He's a great basketball player, and he did. Just because he could have the whole team could have just put their head down and not competed in the second half.
And that's what they've done in years past, Abe. Let's be honest. When they're down with a big deficit, they just kind of put their heads down and they pack it up. And we've seen that especially in the conference tournament, but we did not see that today. They were down by as much as 12 points. They rallied back on an 18-4 run, and you got to give credit to this team for fighting back like that.
Exactly. That's the reason for the call. I wanted to point out on that. And also, I mean, yeah, that transfer portal, whatever. I really, in my heart, feel that this team plays for their coach. And the point that I'm going at here, when Holland got that tip in to win the game at the buzzer, it was. I noticed this, that the team didn't go and start hugging Hollins. No, they all rushed towards the bench and were looking for their coach. And if we can at least hold on to 70% of that, because I know we're only losing Hollins, right? Actually, as
like the actual player. Before we come into all this speculation, the only ones that you're actually losing is Alfred Hollins.
Exhausted eligibility, yeah.
Yeah. So again, just wanted to great show that you guys always put on the post game and everything. And like as always, what a heartbreaker it is. But hey, we'll be at the Don Haskins next season, and go Miners, man.
Okay, Abe, appreciate the phone call. Thanks for weighing in, man. Really appreciate you riding with us, and always appreciate your support here on Miner Talk. Tune in. We're going to have some good stuff over the offseason, so we'll have you there for that. We've got one line available, 880-5763. Miner Talk heating up right now. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter, at 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. One of our favorites, he joins us next. You know him as Ronnie, and you can check him out on Twitter, Chalk and Churn. Check out chalkandchurn.com as well. For sports lines as well. Ronnie, what's going on? Good evening, man. This is one that Miner fans thought that they had in the bag, but in the end, it was a heartbreaker.
Man, this is exactly what I was talking about the few times I've called in with UTEP not getting any easy offense and everything being so difficult and such a ISO ball or me ball. If you watch it, how Middle Tennessee State played, there was cutting, there was ball movement. It wasn't pretty at times, but they stayed with their system. The Miners all season, their system has been, we're going to let Keontae, we're going to let Boom, and we're going to let JB kind of lead us to the promised land. And tonight, all those guys took 16-plus shots, but I think, they're hitting like 5 or 6 of them. And it's just going to be really hard to in the postseason, in the playoffs. It's going to be really hard to win high-level games like that, man. It really, you have to have some type of continuity, some type of to shift that defense left and right. There were tons of times where the ball would go into the post and tie us or go into a guard and the ball stayed on one side of the floor. You got to shift the defense. You can't let guys lock in, load on you. They still never really found a way all season to throw the ball ahead to create easy offense on a consistent basis. And tonight when they were getting pressed in the first half, what were they doing? They're trying to dribble up to the sideline, to the coffin corner, turning it over, people getting their pockets picked, people throwing passes out of bounds. It's unfortunate the season ended how it ended.
No, I understand, Ronnie. Now, it's interesting because they couldn't get anything going offensively for 25 minutes, and then they just did real simple ball screen. And it kind of works sometimes, like that, Keontae Kennedy floater where Zarek Onyema had a nice pick and roll with him, and, they actually stuck with Zarek, which was the wrong move. They didn't stay with Keontae on that, and then he got the nice layup. So it was just like simple ball screen, but why didn't they adjust earlier? I was expecting them right out of the half to adjust in a big way, but instead they're jacking up threes. So I didn't like the game plan out of the first or out of the second half. And then I didn't like the late game management. It's something that we've talked about over the course of these closer games, and late game management continues to be one of those things that the Miners never really had a firm grasp on as the year closed out.
Agreed. And I'm gonna say something, and I know that the fans, the viewers, yourselves are probably going to be upset at me for saying this.
Oh, come on, man! You always give the good controversy. Okay, we like this. Come on.
I'm gonna lay this out there now. This isn't a controversy, but I'm gonna tell you something. I'm actually a little bit worried for UTEP basketball, and here's why. I've seen this in football a few times. When teams overachieve in the coach's first year, and it's largely due to players he didn't recruit, usually when he starts to get his guys, for everything that goes up must come down, Adrian. So for a year that they overachieve, there's going to be a year they underachieve. It just happens like that. That's just how it goes. And let me tell you something. There were 7 guys that scored tonight. 5 of them were Rodney Terry recruits. So I don't think Rodney Terry gets enough praise for his ability to recruit at a high level. That's why Chris Beard paid him $1 million to come recruit. But Joe Golding can fly.
Look at how that ended out. Look at that, how that ended out today.
But you can't put that all on. You can't, like I said, he's paid to recruit. Beard is paid to coach the team.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
Put that on Terry.
Fair enough.
Right?
Okay. I can agree with that.
Golding has shown me. I love Golding. He was the right pick for UTEP, but I'm going to tell you 2 things he doesn't do well. He doesn't coach offense, which is why they have no offense, and he does not recruit well. And that's why I'm scared for UTEP basketball going forward, because I can tell you right now you're going to lose Boom and Kennedy. So now you got to go replace essentially your 2 best offensive players. And I don't care if it's Portal. I don't care if it's JUCO. If you don't get the right kids, none of that's going to matter. None of that's going to matter anyway, right?
I agree with you there, man, but I won't go as far as saying he's not a good recruiter yet. He hasn't had a full year to recruit. You haven't given him a full offseason yet.
Listen, man, he had the portal at his disposal. When you got the portal at your disposal and you're in the state of Texas, you could do that in 2 months. It doesn't matter. Every kid and their mother was in the portal last year. He got guys on visits, but what'd they do, Adrian? They went to other schools. They went to other places. And all those guys that went other places are on teams that are going to postseason, right? The big kid at Chattanooga, they're going to the NCAA tournament, right? Jalen Johnson goes to Texas A&M. Now he gets hurt, but looks like they're probably going to make the postseason run as well.
Good player. He would have been good this year.
So he can get him there, but until you close the deal, that's recruiting. And that's something that I haven't seen him do. You even look at the kids he had at ACU. They played their asses off. They played hard. They weren't world beaters, dude. Well, they weren't, he wasn't in some recruiting battle with high-level teams for those kids. That just isn't what happened. And he's not an offensive guy. And that's why I'm more scared, because it's like, dude, you're going to have to replace Boone and Kennedy. Those guys put up a lot of buckets, and you're going to have to go find kids that can put it in the hoop, hopefully a little more efficiently. And like I said, I've seen this in football. Teams that overachieve that first year with the coach. Let's be honest now. You guys were crying about Boone should have been on the first team. Should he? Because tonight he was, 5-17 in the playoffs.
Hey, but look at what he did defensively. 7 steals.
Maybe the coaches know what they're talking about, though. Maybe the coaches say he's a volume shooter. Maybe the coaches who vote know what they're talking about. Maybe that's why he was on the second team. Right? JB goes 6-17. Maybe the coaches know what they're talking about. Maybe that's why he was on the third team. You guys are crying because the kid averages some points, but it's all about efficiency, man. it's all about efficiency, right? Like that's
it could be also the NBA push for Kinsey and stuff like that, like we've talked about. So I don't know about that, but I'm gonna still stick on the fact that, hey, look at what Boom did this year. I get it. There were some inefficient numbers, but at the end of the year, he still posted his best shooting splits of his entire career. And say what you will about Sule Boom being an inefficient scorer, I just don't buy the narrative of that, because I think he's a pure scorer and he's somebody who will score in bunches at some point of the game. And you saw it today. Even though he played an abysmal first half, he comes out of the second half and he fights and he battles and he still gets 9 rebounds, still gets 7 steals, and really helps the Miners charge in the late game of this one. And Ronnie, I get it, man. I understand where you're coming from of being a little pessimistic with the future of this team, but I still am sold on Joe Golding, and I'm not ready to call him not a great recruiter yet, and I'm not ready to knock his offense just yet. This is only year 1. He doesn't have his guys in. I get it. He had 2 months in the portal, but he also had only 2 months to get acclimated here in El Paso. He had to move his whole family from Abilene Christian to West Texas, El Paso, and let's see how he has everything now. Now that he knows the lay of the land here in the 915, now that he knows more of the selling points, the brand of UTEP last summer was down. Let's be honest, Ronnie. No one wanted to come to UTEP because you had a previous head coach bolt for an assistant job. For Joe Golding, he had to sell everybody on what he had, his brand. Hey, I'm going to build this up. I'm going to be rebranding this. Now he has to go back to those same types of recruits this offseason and sell them on that same idea, but then he has 19 wins to back him here in El Paso. He has a team that he's going to have next year. Who knows? Maybe they lose Sule Boom and Keontae Kennedy, but maybe they're able to keep somebody like Jamal Bieniemy, and he could build around somebody like that. So I hear you, man. Great phone call. Ronnie, you always bring the good controversy. I really appreciate all your stuff. Check them out, chalkandchurn.com for some college basketball picks. Ronnie here on Miner Talk. 880-5763, our telephone number. Let's keep things moving. Got a lot of calls to get to. Oh, man, Twitter just exploded off of that call. Let's keep moving. It's Robert who's joining us next on the phone lines, 880-5763. Robert, good evening. What's going on?
How are you guys doing tonight?
Robert, we're doing all right, man. What'd you think of this one?
Well, that's a tough call to follow after Ronnie on the
I'm
call.
sorry, Robert. I wish we could take a break right there or something.
Well, just to feed off of Ronnie's call there, I'm going to be more positive regarding the UTEP season. Nobody expected UTEP to have a winning season like this, going 19-13, making to the second round of the Conference USA tournament. Been over 5 years since they made it this far.
I hear you, man. It's a milestone. It's a milestone accomplishment of what this team was able to do, getting 19 wins, winning the first conference tournament game in 5 years. So I'm with you, man. I think that it's a successful season. It's a positive year. I'm still very high on this coaching staff. So you celebrate this season for what it was, and it's probably over at this point. Maybe they have one game in the postseason, but I would probably side with a no, just like Joe Golding said in his post-game interview.
What this team did, they played up with a lot of heart, a lot of grit, being down by 12 and taking a 4-point lead into the last 5 minutes of the game. To me, the turning point was going to overtime and losing Titus, not having the experience down low in the post. Speaking of talented players, like going out Ronnie was saying, you look at Ronnie Terry the past 2 years. Granted, those past 2 years' team were more talented players than this year's team. And what did they do with them? Absolutely nothing. I will take an average team with Joe Golding as coach with hard work, and you'll get more out of the players with having players are more talented.
I'm with you on that. We've seen that from development with guys like Zarek Onyema. I mean, he was somebody who was an afterthought on previous coaching staff's roster, and now look at what he's done. He's found a nice role for himself. He's playing crunch time minutes today when Titus Verhoeven fouls out. So, Robert, I'm totally with you, man. I hear what you're saying. I appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much for waiting along with us as we continue here on Miner Talk. Let's continue. Let's keep things rolling. 880-5763. That's our telephone number. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. That's where we are as well. Coming on from Twitter. This is coming in from Twitter. It's Daniel at the Bridge Under. This is what he tweets. They had Middle Tennessee, but they lost it. Just like all season. No other way. No rebounding. Not very strong with the holding the ball. No clutch scoring. No consistent scoring. No depth for the big man. No big man to rebound. A lot of holes, but that will all change. So I think that's a weirdly an optimistic point right there. Rob tweets the show, UTEP made more shots, more threes, rebounding, assists were even. UTEP had more blocks and steals and less turnovers. How was the game decided? One team was allowed to play physical and the other wasn't. Middle Tennessee shot 14 more free throws, especially at the end of regulation. #MinerTalk.
You know what, man? I don't necessarily agree with that because UTEP was in the bonus with a lot of time to spare in the second half. And I think the Miners, I mean, this is around the time they did get on the run. Don't get me wrong. The shots were finally falling, but I wanted to see them be a lot more aggressive in the paint to close out the second half. If they would have done that, I think they would have gotten some more chances at the line. I know that the foul disparity is there, but, I mean, if this has gone on for a large portion of the season, but the calls don't change, what is the problem here really?
Now, I understand that completely, Sal. That's a very valid point. 880-5763, our telephone number, 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Fred Morales tweets the show, weak officiating by experienced crew, a lot of soft fouls against the Miners, and no call play ons when Middle Tennessee created rough contact. Kelly self-missed basket interface on the shot that it was on the downward flight when the shot clock was not reset. Embarrassing officiating. That's coming from Fred Morales on Twitter. Let's go to Hunter, who's joining us next, 880-5763. Hunter, I see Ronnie got you out.
Yeah, man, I agree with some of what he says, and I disagree with some, and I feel the same way with you guys, too. But first of all, how you guys doing tonight?
We're doing all right, Hunter. It's been a roller coaster of a night, but we're hanging in, man. This is the last one, so we gotta lay it all on the table tonight.
Hey, dude, it's been a roller coaster season. You've had some good, some bad. That's what's going to happen when you get some change in the coaching staff. But if somebody would have told you that it won 19 games, made it to the third round of the tournament to end the season, who would have believed it?
No one. They're 7-7 in the year, and I'm thinking, gosh, is this team going to be a 10th seed in the conference tournament?
Yeah, no, he overachieved, and I'm trying to see at what point at the end of regulation that Sal and some of these other callers are saying they didn't execute. Okay, they were not taking jump shots, all right? They were driving the ball. The majority of their shots were layups. So what else can you do to draw contact? They were driving the ball. They weren't settling for bad shots. That's how they got back in the game. In fact, all their points down the stretch were hard-earned baskets that they were fouled. And on the contrary, all of Middle Tennessee's points were at the free throw line. I don't recall a single field goal in the last 5 minutes that Middle Tennessee made. So when one team is allowed to remain aggressive on defense and the other one, their aggressiveness is taken away, that weighs big on the game. And I know over the course of it, they were in the bonus. But what does it matter if none of the calls are made down low and they don't get the free throw? Boom drove at least 2 or 3 times. And on that last possession, I agreed with what they did. Hey, let it ride. Put it in a playmaker's hands and let it go. Don't let the defense set up. And they put it in the hands of who they wanted. Kennedy's finished down low in clutch situations before. He was fouled hard on that play. No call, as we were used to. And, hey, it went into overtime. Overtime's a different story. We didn't have anybody to throw it inside, and their offense relies on going inside out. So I didn't see the lack of execution. I didn't see the lack of physical play. They drew the contact. Golding knew it. The only knock I have on him is he doesn't know how to work the refs. To piggyback on Eric Fournier's tweet there, he took it. And that's a goaltend. He took it. And I understand you don't want to get a tech in those situations, but when you start to see a pattern, there's a certain way to work those refs. And, we had one of the greats of all time in Don Haskins that mastered that. And that's why we weren't getting hosed in end-of-game situations.
Because the refs would look over to the Bear and they wouldn't dare to call any of those fouls.
Exactly. You can't. And you might get 1 or 2 against you, but it was a pattern this game. And I don't call in and complain about officiating. That's I hate excuses. But they controlled the game. If anybody took over this game, it was them. UTEP did what they had to do. They were the tougher team. They executed down the stretch because they had to make tough baskets. Middle Tennessee just had to drive and go to the line. So if anybody that didn't execute, it was them. They got the calls. UTEP didn't, and they still battled and made it to that. And, I disagree on Ronnie's point. He says Golding doesn't know how to recruit. UTEP's brand was so low because of Rodney Terry.
Thank
Who
you.
would have wanted to come here?
Who
would have wanted to come here? He chastised his players. He ran them out. It was turmoil here. Would you want to come here if you saw that? All these players talk. All these AAU coaches talk. So he has to bring that back. We don't know if he's a good recruiter or not.
Well, also, wait, I just want to stop you real quick before you move on from Rodney Terry, Hunter. I just wanted to say one other thing is you also don't know how he scorched the place afterward. If he said, hey, don't go out there, don't send your player out there to El Paso because it's hard to win there. You never know if that could be the case.
Well, regardless, what does it matter? You know what I mean? We don't know. The jury is out on Golding's ability to recruit. We all know he can coach. And he said, nobody gave Terry credit for recruiting. Nobody ever questioned that. We always said he brought in some of the most talented players we'd seen, and this year was proof because without their best player from last year, they won 19 games and were a call away from going to the semifinals of this conference tournament. Terry could recruit with the best of them, but he didn't have an ounce of coaching in him. He couldn't get anything out of these guys. And, yes, this offense was different, but look at how much more disciplined their shots became than what we saw last year. I think we quickly forget that. So we need to give Golding the credit he deserves. He turned a lackluster team that had no passion, no execution, no discipline, and we won so many close games this year because they finished. Give the credit where it's deserved. They worked hard. They made it happen, and I'm looking forward to next season. They're going to be missing some key players, but he'll know how to recruit for this conference just like he knew how to recruit for ACU. He got them competitive in their conference, championship games in their conference, and to the tournament. And that's all we ask for here at UTEP. Make us competitive, get us there, and I look forward to the future with them, man. These guys that are calling and some of y'all saying they don't execute, man, I don't know what game you guys were watching. But a heck of a season. He got the most out of them, and they're overachieving. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Okay, Hunter. Hey, appreciate you riding with us all year long, man. It's been a long season, but we're happy to have you here with us here at the end of the basketball season. So appreciate your phone calls. Appreciate your support, as we wrap things up here today.
Man, thanks for what you guys do, man. You guys do a heck of a job like always, man, and look forward to football season with y'all. Hopefully there's more good stuff to talk about.
Most definitely. We'll be back for football. I understand that. Hey, appreciate it, Hunter. Thanks so much for giving us a call. 880-5763. That's our telephone number to get into the show. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Sal, any thoughts after that one?
Yeah, really good call. Some great points. But I think the difference between the Miners attacking the paint as opposed to Middle Tennessee attacking the paint is there was ball movement right before the attack, and so guys were hitting certain spots where to me, and I could be wrong, but kind of looked like the Miners were attacking to try and score with that in mind, which is what you want to do, but there was really no ball movement or as much ball movement as you would normally see, like we saw with Middle Tennessee, and they were able to, be a slight step ahead. And also, too, I just go back to a large portion of the season where the Miners really didn't get the benefit of the whistle. Whether it's warranted or not, it was a constant trend, and at some point, something has to be figured out how you can get to the line, or what are you going to do with your offense to counter not being able to go to the free throw line. Now, I say that also knowing that they did get better offensively. They became a lot more efficient. We saw their numbers from mid-range. They were atrocious. I think somewhere in early January, something like that. And last game against Old Dominion, they were starting to get some mid-range buckets. I don't know how many they had today, maybe a couple. But the point is they did improve in small portions to close out the year in offense.
UTEP shot 24 of 64 today, just 37% from the floor. They shot 21% from beyond the arc. It just wasn't the best shooting night. Nothing was going in for the Miners. 880-5763, that's our telephone number. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. That's 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Let's go to Lou Romano, who's joining us next on the phone lines, our good friend here on the show. We just kept him waiting here on the phones for 30 minutes, and he hung with us. Lou, thanks so much for waiting with us, man. What'd you think of this one?
No, not at all. I love hearing what everybody has to say, and everybody makes valid points. And you can cry about the officiating all you want to, but two things. One, what Joe Golding did with this team this year, oh my God. I mean, I would play for that guy in 2 seconds.
I'd run through a brick wall for that guy in 2 seconds.
Right, yeah, exactly. I mean, you nailed it, Adrian. That this team was sleepwalking, until he got here, and he willed them in that game tonight. But at the end of the day, to me, from where I'm standing, until they get a big guy who can get you some easy baskets underneath, throw some guys around so Titus doesn't have to beat up on everybody by himself, until they get a guy like that, you'll see the same thing again next year. So I think if Golding's smart, in fact, I think you were at that media availability session the other day when somebody asked him about player availability, and he kept saying, yeah, but he's not a big. Yeah, but he's not a big. So I think Golding knows he needs a big dude like Bryson, or somebody who can push guys around, get you the easy basket, and pull you the rebound. That's the difference. That's the free throw difference. You saw those guys Middle Tennessee was running out there. 15 guys, all 6'10", 6'8", with muscle on them who fly around. They just need one of those, UTEP does, and I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. And they've got a guy in the pipeline, Jonathan Dos Anjos. He's coming from the #1 junior college school in the country in Florida. I think it's Florida, what is it, North Florida State or whatever, something like that. Anyways, Jonathan Dos Anjos posted almost a double-double in this recent season, and he's already signed, and he's ready to play for the Miners in the fall. So they'll get him. They'll get Shea Evans from San Diego State, who didn't get a chance to play this year. He wasn't eligible. But yeah, I'm with you, Lou. They just kind of need a couple more guys down low. We'll see. They probably are going to need more guards after the transfer portal really hits, and we see who ends up leaving this program. Lou, I agree with you, man. I think it was a very successful season, and you just have to be excited if you're a UTEP fan about Joe Golding and what he was able to do in just year one.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I could not be happy with how he got these guys ready down the stretch. I know you guys are getting ready to go home. But my 2 cents, get a big guy. Like if you took that UTEP team down to the rec center, you're still not going to win. Because there's always that one team at the rec center that's got the big guy, who's pushing dudes out of the way. And I think once UTEP gets one of those guys, then that opens things up for everybody, especially the guards.
I hear you. I hear you. All right, man.
Guys, keep up the good work, man. Love listening to you guys. I was late getting off the air tonight, so sorry I couldn't catch your whole show.
No worries, Lou. Hey, appreciate it so much. Thanks for tuning in on the show. We're keeping things moving. We're not shutting things down. We've got a lot of calls to keep getting to. We haven't even checked Twitter, Lou, so we still got a bunch of stuff to get to. CBS 4 local sports director Lou Romano giving us a call here on the phones, 880-5763. That's our telephone number. We got 2 lines to get to, a ton of tweets to get to as well. 1 line available. If you would like to call in and talk some UTEP hoops, now is the time to do it. 880-5763. That's our telephone number to get into the show. Middle Tennessee defeated UTEP 66-59 in overtime. This is probably our last Miner Talk, barring a postseason game from UTEP. If they do play, we might have a Miner Talk after that one, but who knows? Joe Golding alluded to the fact that the likelihood is probably not. However, that things could definitely change, when it's all said and done. Let's go to Twitter real quick. We'll get to Augustine and Rob next on the show. 880-5763. Telephone number to get into the program. Kevin at SleepyKev number 5 tweets the show. I know this loss sucks so bad. However, I'm incredibly proud and impressed on the job Joe Golding was able to do this season. Hats off to Golding and co. If this team stays intact, UTEP will be in the conference title talks next year easily. Hashtag picks up, hashtag Miner Talk. YYS tweets the show. I swear, if I hear any idiots tweet or call in that UTEP needs to move on from Golding, I'm going to slap them. I think that's what he says in this GIF. Also tweeting the show at 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter is Pinky. Thank you to Rip and all the Miner Maniac fans. Love supporting and talking UTEP sports. Let's keep this going as long as we can. Hashtag Miner Talk. Have always enjoyed Miner Talk ever since its inception back when. Thank you, Adrian and Sal, for bringing this after the game back. All right. Appreciate that, man. Thanks for the shout out. Juan Fernandez tweets the show. Why not? Why wouldn't they want to play postseason? I'd love to see them play a few more games. I think it's a selfish thing, man. I think UTEP fans want to see this team again, and I think some of these players are ready to, move on.
Yeah.
They're ready for the season to be over. They're ready to hit the portal. I'm just going to be honest. There's one foot out the door, and you might not think that's the case watching this team play so spirited, but they're playing spirited because they wanted to have this one big run. And I don't think if it's the NCAA tournament, what's the point, man?
No, that's exactly what I was going to mention. We got to see this team lock in, be all in and together for this potential run that they had. They got their first conference tournament win in a long time. They got some big wins over some of the top teams to close out the regular season.
That's right.
And, you have that behind you. Now you're thinking you can make a conference tournament run, and rightfully so. Didn't work out, and I think their eyes were on the prize for that conference tournament championship. And after that, the gas tank, who knows how much is left in there. But to be honest, when it comes to postseason play, and it's not the NIT or the NCAA, you may try to make as much money as you can, but if your eyes are already set on next season on how you can get better, I think you cash in on that as opposed to trying to cash in with tickets.
I'm with you on that, Sal. And who knows if they can even get tickets? Some of those postseason tournaments,
you got to pay to get in. Yeah.
Yeah. Some you have to pay to get in. Some you actually have to. When you want to, you don't necessarily have to pay to get in, but you actually have to give all your concessions to them. So I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
For the basketball classic. This is one postseason tournament. I believe this one replaced the CIT. Quote, "This tournament consists of 3 rounds. Single elimination. Games are held on campuses of participating schools. All gate receipts will be collected by the Basketball Classic. Schools can host games in the tournament without the responsibility of any financial commitment." So no buy for the Basketball Classic, but the Basketball Classic will take all gate receipts. So they'll take all ticket sales right there. For the CBI, they will select 16 teams that are not selected in the NIT or the NCAA tournament, and those who are willing to pay a $50,000 entry fee to participate in the CBI's teams compete on home court. So that's how you can kind of break that down right there. 880-5763, that's our telephone number to get into the program. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. That's 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. We lost Augustine. I think that might be a good thing. Now we've got Rob and Milkman joining us next. Let's go to Rob first. Milkman is coming up after him. 880-5763, that's our telephone number to get into the show. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Rob, good evening. Thanks for hanging with us, man. It's almost 11.
Yeah, man. I'm off tomorrow. I'm going to go to Arizona, so I'll be up all night with you guys. But,
okay. I appreciate it, man. What'd you think of this?
Yeah. I was extremely disappointed in the game, but really happy with the season to have. I think the game, as I tweeted about it earlier, I just don't know how you could look at the box score and not just see the glaring disparity in free throws when everything else was even. Because you talk about how bad UTEP shot while the other team shot worse, and we rebounded about the same, had more steals. We won pretty much every category except they shot 14 more free throws. And yeah, they did get to the bonus first. They got to about 7. We were about 4. And they stayed at 7, and we got to about 10 or 11. It was just back to back to back. And we had to struggle for every shot while they just had to go down the other end and knock down a couple free throws. And I don't know if anyone who saw that game that thought that they played more physical than we did. I saw 2 teams with matched physicality, and I saw no reason for one team to shoot that much more free throws in a very, even physically matched game. But, there's not much we could do about that. The other thing I saw that UTEP doesn't do, which you won't really see on the box score, is that they don't, when they miss a shot, nobody attacks the boards for second chance points.
Yeah,
So
UTEP's not great on offensive rebounds. They weren't all year. 9 today.
No.
And then Keontae Kennedy had 4 of them.
No, they're not great at it because no one attempts to do it. So if you watch you could go back and watch the game. UTEP misses the shot, and 3 Middle Tennessee guys, all they got to do is block out Titus, and they're going back the other way. When Middle Tennessee missed the shot, they had 4 guards, 3 guys from the backcourt go attack, and they got a lot of second chance points that way. But I don't expect Titus to, out rebound 3-4 white jerseys every time. But I never saw the guards were already back on defense by the time they missed, and it was just every play. And that's not a winning formula. We're not a good shooting team to be doing that anyways. But that was one thing I noticed. And the other thing is, we don't really have a lot of depth down low. So Zarek will be a force next year. But as far as this game, he was a little raw. He was a little timid.
The lights were bright. The lights were bright for him.
Yeah, but no, that kid's going to be amazing. I could tell. He's going to be awesome. He's going to be probably better than Titus is right now. But I'm real excited for what Golding brings these next couple years. And I'm not worried about recruiting. I'm worried about results. So, yeah, Terry had all the recruits in the world. Terry had all the recruits in the world, and it didn't mean anything on paper. Golding did not have all the recruits in the world, and, 3 straight 20-win seasons in the Southland. So, that I'm worried about results and nothing else, and I know Golding's going to get us there eventually. But, yeah, man, thanks for taking my call.
All right, Rob. Hey, appreciate you rocking with us all year long. Hang with us over the off season, man. We'll do some Miner Talks podcasts and things around recruiting and stuff like that. So we really appreciate you supporting us and joining us here on the phones as well, Rob, as we continue here on Miner Talk. 880-5763. That's our telephone number to get into the show. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Let's take a time out right now. When we come back, we've got a lot of calls to get to. We've got lines available. So if you'd like to give us a call, now is the time to do it. 880-5763. That's our telephone number to get into the show. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. That's 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. A lot of tweets to get to. Way more Miner Talk coming up as you're listening to Miner Talk, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
You're listening to Miner Talk on 600 ESPN El Paso, brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency. Locally owned and operated for 24 years.
All right, welcome back. Miner Talk continues. Adrian Broadus along with Sal Montes. We're going to be with everybody until the phones stop ringing or something like that, but we've got full phone lines right now. We'll try to burn through those, but before we do that, let's play some comments earlier today from head coach Joe Golding with Voice of the Miners John Teicher after this one that I find very revealing. Here we go.
I would say right now we're probably leaning a little bit more towards not playing, but who knows, man? Things change.
And, of course, for you and your staff, you want to get out on the road and get recruiting.
Yeah, we all need a break and we all need time, but here we go, man. I'm leaving tomorrow and we'll be recruiting all next week, and so that's life, man, but that's good. We again won 19 games. We got UTEP back on the map, and we can go out and sell what we're doing there, and it's a lot easier to sell that now than it was 9 months ago, I think. So
there you go.
Challenging times, man. We know that, man. Who knows what our roster will look like, but tonight's not about that, man. Tonight's about our guys, how hard they played, just the guts they showed, the toughness they showed, and I'm super proud of them, Tysh. We're really, really tired.
Big event next week, the National Junior College Basketball Tournament in Kansas.
We'll be there, absolutely. We'll be there Monday when the ball tips, and we'll work that and work across the country, just continue to make this program competitive. That's the key, man. Like, we're getting there. We're getting competitive, and that's all you can do is stay competitive and get in the race, get in the fight with these teams, and then eventually, you turn the corner.
Are you looking for anything and everything to add to the roster?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest with you, we'll see. But it's the new era of college basketball, So you got to be prepared and ready for anything. So who knows what the future looks like or how many guys we're looking for.
There you go. That last answer told you all you need to know. It's a new college era of college basketball. Why is he saying that? Why did Joe Golding say that?
Because he literally does not know. We don't know.
Yeah, but he also might know. He might know. He might know who's leaving this program, and he's prefacing that by, letting the Miner faithful know, hey, this is a new era of college basketball right now. The transfer portal is what it is. Again, these players could be Joe Golding fans in a big way, and it might not have to do with anything that Joe Golding does as a head coach or anything that the staff has done. It has to do with what they hear from back home, and some of these players might be hearing, hey, the grass is greener over here. Come over here. Play over here. Look at what Bryson Williams did. Look at what Anthony Tark did. Look at what Deion Stroud did. That's the mentality that some of these players have. And, it's unfortunate for some people in what they might think, but it's the reality of college basketball.
And you know what, too? We can even say that, this Miners team and Coach Golding was maybe lucky in a sense to even retain some of the guys from the previous
I agree.
teams. You know
I
what
agree
I mean?
completely.
I mean, granted, they bought into the system, and Coach Golding said it himself. He loves those guys, and he'll do anything for them. But at the end of the day, if somebody has their mind made up, maybe it was made up, earlier on in the season, but they wanted to see this season all the way through, as opposed to maybe entering the transfer portal in the middle of the season, which is something we've seen before.
Bingo. Great point, Sal. Eric Fournier on Twitter. This loss is completely on Joe Golding. That last possession in regular play, I think that's what he meant, was terrible. Kennedy hadn't hit a shot all game, and he takes the last shot. Paul Reynoso tweets us, I would love to see them in any kind of postseason tournament, but if they choose not to participate, I'll be okay with it. Next year, if the stakes are raised, and I believe we will contend for a Conference USA title sooner rather than later. Jonathan Byers tweets a show, I'm down. I'd like to see this team redeem themselves. When they play together strong and attack, it's hard to stop them. Let's do it. This one from Fred Morales. Seems like Kelly Self, the Texas official, had it out for Coach Joe Golding from prior history. 23-12 foul count disparity in a close contested tournament game is totally unacceptable. That's coming from Fred Morales on Twitter. This one from Tristan Pence, our guy. Very hard-fought game by both teams. It's a damn shame Conference USA refs really decided the winner. Huge kudos to Sule Boom for giving it everything he had tonight. He truly is a great player. It's time to see if Coach Golding can recruit to UTEP. I think the future is bright. Let's go to the phones now, 880-5763. A lot of calls to get to. Milkman, Abel, and Ryan. First up is Milkman. Let's get to him. Milkman, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Oh, not much, Milkman. Just here past 11. What are you doing with us?
Yeah, well, okay, so I got to tell you, I almost wasn't going to call in, but so I was listening on the app, right? And unfortunately on the app, sometimes it likes to buffer. So you had this other caller say, hey, I'm about to say something that's going to piss everybody off or whatever.
Oh, and you missed Ronnie's point.
And I missed it.
Oh.
So I'm gathering that he said something about Coach Golding.
Yes. Okay, I'll sum it up for you, Milkman. What Ronnie said was, he said, don't be surprised if Joe Golding underachieves. This is not a good thing necessarily, because by overachieving, he's kind of set it up for, hey, maybe some of these guys are not his guys. Maybe he loses some of these key players and then has to go out and prove himself in recruiting. And Ronnie said that he's not a good recruiter. So that's what Ronnie was basically saying in this call.
Okay, that's laughable. That's ridiculous. Like, first off, he's been here 1 year. How he even thinks he would know what kind of a recruiter Golding is. I had to call in because I am, especially after this season, a huge fan of Coach Golding. I'm super excited. I mean, I've called you guys in. I've called before about this, but you see the transformation in the team from the beginning of the year to the end. That's all coaching. I mean, the heart that they showed, he instilled that in them, and it's obvious. I mean, it is obvious. I'm super pumped. Obviously I don't know, what kind of a recruiter he is, but if it's anything like the kind of coach I've seen so far, holy cow! Like, the future's looking really, really bright, and I'm super excited. I mean, he's even got the name Golding for the Miners, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's perfect. I'm super excited. Haven't been this excited in a very long time. I guess there were some ups and downs before that made us a little excited, but I mean, I honestly feel like, like probably the first time since Haskins that I'm like, you know what, we have our guy. Like this, I am super excited. He has instilled all kinds of fight in these guys, and it's only going to get better from here. I mean, he turned nothing. He was left with nothing when he came here. I mean, everybody knows that. We've been talking about it on the show. I mean,
right.
Look what he did. Just turning it around. I mean, the team that was playing at the beginning of the year is not what you're seeing right now. I mean, it's super amazing. I do agree with when Lou Romano said about a big man. I've been talking with my dad. We watch the games together, and they definitely need a big man. That's for sure. But, I mean, what they've been able to accomplish, even lacking that, has been amazing. And then the heart of guys like Sule Boom, who this is not the first time that he's gone, scoreless in the first half, and then all of a sudden taking the game on his shoulders. I mean, that's a sign of a leader. You know what I mean? I'm just, I cannot say enough good stuff about Golding. I really feel like minor ball is back, like for the first time that I've been confident in that in a long time. And the future's looking super bright. And minor fans, we got to get out there and support them next year and fill that stadium like it hasn't been filled since the Haskins years, and support these minors because they're definitely putting a hell of a product on the court.
All right, good stuff, Milkman. Appreciate that so much. 880-5763. That's our telephone number to get into the program. I thought Milkman brought up some great points right there, Sal. So great phone call right there. Let's keep things moving. Got a lot of calls to still get to. Ton of tweets, a lot of messages as well. We'll keep things going here on Miner Talk. 880-5763. That's our telephone number. One line available now. Abel is joining us next. Abel, we finally got to you, man. How's it going?
Great, man. First of all, I want to thank UTEP for allowing me to get back into the Spanish mode with streaming live.
Oh, that's awesome. Were you guys there today?
I did. Yeah, I did both games.
Oh, that's awesome. Shout out dialogueep.com.
Yeah, it was, finally an opportunity after, being doing the games for such a long time and, waiting, trying to cut another deal with a new media company, and luckily it fell through because that's when COVID started. So it would have been pretty difficult, to try to deal through COVID and then get to the point it is now. So I did both games.
That's awesome, man.
I will tell you that tonight was probably one of the most physical games I had seen them play. There was elbows, there was people falling down, there was all kinds of stuff, and they stayed scrappy with the number one team on the east side of the conference that they had gone and lost to, and that just automatically shows improvement. One of the things that I do want to bring up is they were definitely a one shot and out team a lot on offense, but I will give credit to the improvement of Verhoeven. Verhoeven at the end, he's that type of guy that you're looking for 10 points and 5 rebounds, along with if everyone else keeps scoring. If you have some of that play on the bottom, 10, 12 points from somebody, you're gonna win games. And he had some decent games and he had some tough games, but I think he tried his heart out tonight, man. And those guys from Middle Tennessee, man, they were big, and they were moving, on him. There was a lot of blocked shots under the rim. It was great. It's, unfortunately, Sully, it's one of those things. You got a guy that's always used to getting 22 points a game, and then he has a bad game, and no points, all the way till when he finally scored. But that's the type of guy that in that type of a game, he still understood that if he could get 9 points and all those rebounds, he was going to he was going to put us in a chance to win. The decisions on the last shot or whatever, Keontae Kennedy, when he makes it, it's beautiful, and when he doesn't, it's not. But I do want to bring up one thing that just irks the crap out of me.
Okay.
And it's Effie Udigi. Think about it. Terry, got him to lose all that weight, and then really never gave him another of a chance because it wasn't his kid and blah, blah, blah. That guy had heart. He was freshman of the year, and then he leaves because Terry can't work with him. Can you imagine if we had him on the bench with Verhoeven? Sure. That one guy that could break in and, could spin either way under the paint and do something, and then I think Verhoeven would have been that garbage guy, would have been able to, grab a rebound off of a miss and put it back in the hole. One of the things that Middle Tennessee was amazing tonight was they got 4 or 5 opportunities to shoot, getting the ball back under the rim, and, and the Miners just were trying anything to try to rebound,
I'm with you on that, man.
But do you agree, man? I mean, whether you want to mention the guy's name or
No,
not,
100. I'll say
FEODG.
no. Abel, we've talked about this a ton of times. I could say it 100%. I mean, FEODG, he was an all-conference selection his freshman season with UTEP. Then he totally digressed the following 2 years, and last year he was buried on the bench. We've talked about this a lot on this show. He's newcomer of the year in the Sun Belt. He was named on their first-team all-conference list. He was a A-list player for Troy. He was a standout player, and it's the ultimate what if. What if UTEP had Bryson Williams? What if UTEP had just FEODG? What if Christian Sholin hadn't departed for Portland State? I mean, they had solid talent last year, but the point is, that's an ultimate what if, man. I completely understand what you're saying. We've talked about this a lot.
Yeah, and I look, coaching is a business, right? And, I've been lucky. I've been to a Final Four, and I've been to the Coaches Association conferences when they have them for the Final Four. And I see the way, everybody, tries to switch teams at that coaches convention because that's where all the openings are, and honestly, for Terry to leave the way he did and end up because he's a recruiter at Texas and all that stuff, I call BS, and I knew him personally, and I call BS. It's tough. Hopefully Golding will be that Haskins 2.0. He's got all the heart. I've been around him enough to see him as a human being, and just the way he would. If you went to some of his practices, I mean, that guy was on those kids like crazy to try to make them believe that they could do something.
Sure.
And that's the kind of coach you want, and that's the kind of coach you want. As a matter of fact, I'll start selling burritos to raise money to keep him here.
Good stuff, Abel. Hey, man, we got to get to some more callers, but I really appreciate your phone call, man. Appreciate all you do with DialogueRadioEP.com, and appreciate you giving us the lowdown since you were out there at the start of Frisco, man.
Thanks, man. Y'all take care.
All right, take care, Abel. Appreciate your phone call. 880-5763, our telephone number to get into the show. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Got a couple calls to get to. If you'd like to give us a call, we got lines available. 880-5763. That's our telephone number as we continue here on Miner Talk. Let's continue right now. It's next on the phone lines. It's Ryan who's joining us next on the phone lines. 880-5763. I'm all like, who's the next on the phones? Oh, wait, I answered this. What's up, Ryan? How's it going?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Ryan, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm doing kind of well because of the minor loss and all.
I hear you. What'd you think of this game?
Man, it was pretty close. I'll tell you, we gave them a run for their money. Granted they lost their best player when they played their previous game, but we gave Middle Tennessee a run for their money.
Oh, yeah. That's the top seed in the Conference USA East Division, man, and they definitely did give them the run for their money. I mean, it was a close game. Middle Tennessee was without one of their best players, so that's a knock against the Miners, but, a pro for Middle Tennessee, they're scrappy, and they're just a really tough team. They're super athletic, and they've overachieved by all measures. They were picked to finish last in Conference USA in the preseason poll, but look at where they are. They were the first seed out of the East Division. Oh,
yeah, for sure, and basically what I called in was basically to say I have nothing but excitement for this next coming season. I mean, look what Joe did. He won 19 games. He did a pretty, darn good run on the end, winning probably, I think, 7-2, some record like that. It was pretty good in conference play. And I thought we were dead in the water, 7-7 in beginning conference play, but look what we did.
Yeah, look at that. I mean, they turned their season around from a midseason slump, and they picked it back up to close out the year. So I'm with you, man. They closed it out in the right way. They overachieved by all measures. I didn't think they would win 19 games. I picked 17, and I thought that was very generous. But look at what they did. They closed out the year by beating the best team in Conference USA against North Texas.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, before I hang up, I want to give a quick shout-out to the UTEP Pep Man. So,
big shout out to them. We heard the Screaming Band guy again today. So, big shout out to them. Hey, great call, Ryan. Appreciate your phone call. Thanks so much for weighing in on the show. 880-5763. That's our telephone number. 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. That's 600 ESPN El Paso on Twitter. A lot of tweets to get to. Let's burn through them all. This one, Steven Ariola. I'd love to see them get an invite to something. I think these seniors deserve it after all the crap Terry put them through. Sucks. I wish they had one more time with Coach Joe Golding and UTEP men's basketball. There's only one senior.
Yeah.
No, there's only one senior. Alfred Hollins.
I mean, a lot of guys honored on senior, quote-unquote, day, but only one senior
there
on
you
this
go.
team.
Bang. Perfect. Herman Flores. UTEP had their chances. Didn't execute in key moments. Impressive comeback after being down 12 in the second half. Great first season for Golding. Chalk and Churn. Check them out, chalkandchurn.com. Would love to see UTEP guards play smarter, not so much iso ball. Was great last year, but once again, they don't get easy offense. Everything is so difficult. Can't beat high-level teams in the postseason like that. Great year, though. Hashtag time to recruit. At Adrian at 600 ESPN El Paso. Yeah, it is time to recruit. You heard from Joe Golding in that post-game interview. They're heading out to the JUCO, the JUCO championships next week. Mm-hmm. There's where your postseason tournament was going to be, man, next week. Yeah. And they're going to be busy recruiting. So there you go. There's your answer right there, or possibly your answer. This one coming from Joe Chacon. One of our guys. 11 months ago, Coach Joe Golding came in with fire and excitement. He said he wanted a winner out of the gate. You can't knock his coaching. All the ways to end, he called upon Miner fans to get on board. Players will come and go in the age of the portal. You must adapt, which Coach Joe Golding knows how to do. 19 wins in a season, that no one thought would amount to anything. That caller who first said that, come on, Joe. That caller who said first-year coaches falter the second year due to, quote, using the other coach's players is ridiculous. Either get with us or see yourself to the door. You are part of the problem with Miner fans. Win or lose, we need to support players and coaches and have optimism. UTEP will go dancing next year, and this will be the state of rebirth of what is true Miner fans know as Miner Ball. Thank you so much to UTEP Miner voice, John Teicher, for all he does to reinforce what true UTEP enthusiasm is with his play-by-play call. Thank you, gentlemen, for a great post-game shows and Miner Talk. Hashtag reppin' from Cali now. Hashtag Brock is in training. The next OG Zane. Hashtag I owe you drinks. You owe me drinks with all these hashtags you're throwing our way, man.
You know what's funny is after the first tweet, I'm like, okay, oh wow, he's starting to give some props and he's giving his own. Wait, hold on, and I look at it, it's like a 6-tweet.
I know.
That's awesome.
Are you surprised I read all that?
Yeah, shout out to our man Joe. Big props.
King Eric tweets us. From the opening tip, by the way, we've got phone lines available, 880-5763. If you've been trying to get in, if it's late right now and you just want to get in and talk with us about this, now's the time to do it, 880-5763, telephone number to weigh in. King Eric, from the opening tip, you could see that they didn't have the same dominance they had yesterday. The shots just weren't falling. One of the stars will leave. I mean, Jacob Cowing left, but the future is definitely bright. He follows it up by saying this, another great year of Miner Talk. You guys always do a great job. See you guys for football season. Unfortunately, we will be starting 0-1. UTEP plays Oklahoma to open up the season.
Bring it on, baby.
I love this tweet from Chalk and Churn. It's clear UTEP fans don't watch college basketball. They just watch UTEP basketball only. Get outside the box, people. Start looking at what other mid-majors do. Turn the corner. It was a great year, no doubt, and Golding is the guy, but there's a long way to go. I think there is a long way to go. And I think Golding would admit to that too. Christian Diaz. Big shout out to Christian Diaz for listening in. Horns down in response to UTEP possibly playing Texas to open up the season next year in men's basketball. How about that, Sal? What do you think about that? Chris Beard, Rodney Terry, Chris Ogden, Malik Ujilric versus Joe Golding.
I love it all. You know, we can't forget about, also, let's see if I don't know his name, but the guy who screams during jump around, he might make the trip. I guarantee you he will be the loudest person at the game.
You know what? I hate to bring some breaking news, but I think he's a senior, and I think he's leaving.
Maybe he goes to Austin for
grad school.
For grad school, or maybe he has his own business that he's starting up over there.
I like this.
And he's like, you know what? I just clocked in about $2 million today. It was a light day, but I think I'm going to go out to the UT Austin game and UTEP game and, make my presence known and then Maybe he even suits up. We'll see.
I like that. El Paso Visuals Deportivos tweets us, after Jacob Cowing entered the transfer portal and subsequently left, I would not be surprised at all if Sule Boom transferred to a bigger conference. It's just a sign of the times. Also, Miner fans need to remember this is year 1 of this coaching staff. Hashtag MinerTalk. Let's go to more tweets on the show. Esteban. Oh, this is Esteban, who's actually maybe the first time he's ever tweeted us. No, dude, this is awesome. You got to start looking at this. Esteban calls MinerTalk, and he's called Sports Talk, and he's a great caller, and he's a great Twitter follower. His first tweet is test, first tweet ever. Hashtag test, hashtag why foul. His next one is Jason Rabideau is here. And then his next one is, I have no idea how to tweet. I have no idea. I just started yesterday. And then all he did was tweet us and say this, Hunter knows ball, impressive. There's no loyalty anymore. I was in the infantry for 8 years, no transfer portal there. Man, Esteban, he is just firing on all cylinders right now. Adrian at Enemy Win 3. I was waiting to get to this tweet. Golding can't hold on to Terry's players. All bets are off. Golding hasn't proven that he can successfully recruit Terry caliber players. It's only 1 year.
Yeah, and
let's see this year.
I mean, yeah, a large portion of this roster were Terry players, but who was the coach this year and who had to recruit them to stay on the minor team? So
there you go.
Yeah.
Kingsley Onyema, I am very proud of this UTEP men's basketball team. Coach Golding and his staff changed the dynamic of basketball at UTEP in his first year. Definitely exceeded my expectations. Incredible players and coaching staff. Well done, guys. Still a very proud fan. This one from Adrian at Enemy Win 3. Best case scenario, all Terry players say Golding takes them to the big dance next year and rides off into the sunset onto a Power 5 school. No one remembers the CBI finals with Oregon State and the Dawn sold out. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm going to agree with that. That's a whole different era, though. Like, college basketball has changed since that happened. What was that, 2014, 15?
Yeah.
I mean, that
was a while ago.
I mean, that's also being a little generous on the year. But even though, I say no one remembers the CBI finals, I'm talking the country. No one remembers the CBI finals right now. College basketball postseason tournaments, everybody has their eyes on the NCAA tournament post-pandemic. I mean, no one cares in this era of transfer portal players. You know, if you're looking to try to recruit guys, you're not going to sell them on, hey, by the way, we made it to the finals of the CBI tournament. What's a recruit going to care about that? I don't buy that.
Yeah.
I don't buy that at all.
No, teams are going to want to see what you did, not only in your conference tournament, but did you play in the NCAA tournament or did you make it to the NIT? And to be even fair, what is the NIT these days as well?
There you go. Nothing. Not much.
And also, too, I want to say, back then, winning 20 games a year was a very big deal. Nowadays, you can be a 20-plus win team in a mid-major, and you might not even get a crack at the NCAA tournament. I mean, 24, 25 wins. Look at Murray State a couple of years ago. So, I mean, teams are getting hosed, year in and year out. I know it's a different conversation, but at the end of the day, though, the NCAA tournament is what's going to raise the eyebrows.
No, I'm with you on that completely, Sal. It's all about the tournament. It really is. You just got to punch your ticket back there for the first time since 2010. That's the goal for the Miners, and it'll be year 13 next year. Hard to believe that'll be the case. This one coming in from Pinky. Yes, sir. Already looking forward to next year. I hope all the players I don't know what he ended up saying there. Pinky just kind of messed up there. Ryan Guzman tweets the show, same, but I still have a knot in my stomach. Happy, though, that this team is now set up to win and win big next year. If only you knew, man. Leo_Miner fan tweets us. Ronnie is much, much, much smarter than me, but I disagree. Golding isn't the only recruiter on this team of apples and oranges, but Haskin had Floyd to help him recruit. Right on, Adrian. First year, let's wait and see. Golding is also aware of his weaknesses and said it publicly, but he does still have to prove it, so Ronnie is right on that front. This one from El Paso Visuals Deportivos. Also, we need to remember Kennedy and Sule both played with Bryson Williams, and you don't think they see what he's doing with NIL in a bigger conference? Players probably think that I'll stack my stats at UTEP and then enter the portal and leave to bigger schools. As an alumni, that sucks. Is it a sign of the times? I asked Director of Athletics Jim Center, what's the solution to this? Because Sal, I'm not in the business of accepting this, that you can lose your best player year after year, and it's just a common thing. Oh, it's UTEP. Okay, the best player is going to leave after the year is over. First, it was Bryson Williams. Then it was Jacob Cowing. If Sule Boom leaves this year, that's three of your best players in two of your major sports leaving. Within the span of 2 years? Like, that's sad right there.
It is, but at some point there has to be some form of sustainability, and it's got to come from somewhere. And majority of the time, that has to come from the head coach, because if the transfer portal is in effect, the coach can't leave in the transfer portal. Players will leave in the transfer portal. But we see a lot of mid-majors year in and year out that are able to thrive despite the transfer portal being there. So it's not easy at all. That's not what I'm saying. But it is possible to be done. There has to be some form of sustainability, though.
Oh, okay. I'm with you on that. There has to. There has to be some continuity at some degree. Well, I was asking Jim Center, what's the solution? And I don't think there's a good solution. I really don't. I think it's NIL, but I think that's wishful thinking. I don't know if UTEP is going to be as far along as some of these other schools. And then, we can get into the arguments of, well, what are these schools really doing for NILs? They just say an NIL deal, and the player never endorses anything. He's never in any advertising. He's never in a radio commercial, in a TV commercial, but he's getting that $50,000 check when it comes to signing with that school.
And you know what? It goes far beyond the school itself, too. What are the people in that city, in that town doing, to shell out some money for some of the top players on their teams, regardless of the sport, regardless of the team? If fans are truly, I don't want to say truly about it, but more money would have to be forked over, and that's just the reality of it, because Lubbock is throwing money at their players. Texas Tech is a big school. Go over to Austin, they're doing that, competing with bigger markets, but you got to step up at some point to try and fork over something to appeal some of those guys.
Hey, by the way, Sal, the last time UTEP was in the CBI and went to the finals was 2009.
Yeah.
That's so long ago, man. Come on.
It was the first CBI.
Yeah, wow, that's real interesting.
Stephon Jackson was on the team.
Yeah, exactly. 2014 is the last time they were in the CBI, so they were bounced out right away to none other than Rodney Terry's team. There you go. NIT, UTEP appeared in the NIT in 2015. That's the last time they've played any sort of postseason play. After finishing up the conference tournament. So just something to note right there for all Miner fans talking about postseason play. This one. This coming in from 915 Sun City. Thank you, Kingsley, for allowing Z to be part of the El Paso community. Your family is first class, and we are excited to see his future at UTEP. This one coming in from Adrian at Enemy Win 3. Golding is a good coach in his player development. His passion is top notch, but even he admitted that they didn't execute down the stretch, and it was on him. And he said that at least in 3 games. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. This one, UTEP Zay, manifesting a true center and keeping the trio of guards for next year. It's not going to happen. Well, maybe it'll happen as far as keeping it or getting a true center. I don't know about the latter. Leo_MinerFan tweets us. I was going to say, I'm not sure I want to hear what I want to hear what Augustine wants to say. Oh, man. We miss Augustine. He hasn't given us a call in a while, so he's welcome anytime he'd like to give us a call here on MinerTalk. 880-5763. That's our telephone number. 600-ESPN El Paso on Twitter. At 600-ESPN El Paso on Twitter. Keep it moving on Twitter. This is Leo_MinerFan. I'm sleepy myself, but I'm not giving up like those Miners. King Eric tweet. That's so funny. People are so funny on Twitter. This is from My Name is Jeff. I did not cry, or I not cry because I love the Miners. I don't even know what he's saying.
I think he said I'm proud.
I'm proud of them because they work hard. Hashtag Gold Era. Hashtag Miner Proud. Hashtag Hooper. The Don Baby. That's awesome, dude. I love My Name is Jeff. He's the best on Twitter. El Paso Visuals Deportivos tweets us. I think the last time UTEP basketball played in the CBI Showtime and my time, Aaron and Alvin Jones faced off against, you guessed it, Rodney Terry of Fresno State. So teams should play and create some memories at 600 ESPN El Paso. Nah, they're gonna look toward recruiting, man. I really think they're gonna be so hyper focused on trying to get this team rebuilt if they lose the players that they think they might. And yeah, that's at least where I stand on that. Joe Chacon, you definitely don't want me to call in tonight because I'll take you to midnight. 0-1 to start the season for football? Come on, man. Even if we know the odds are against us, you never throw in the towel before the fight. It really bothers me when these fair-weather fans chime in and only get involved when the fire starts. The glass is half full in this household all the time. Lifelong Miner fans know. Hashtag sorry for the long hashtags. Hashtag MinerTalk is my release. Hashtag I like hashtags. Hashtag LOL. Oh, man, Joe Chacon. It's too late for you to be doing this, Joe Chacon. Come on, man. What's going on here? 880-5763, our telephone number to get into the show. Let's take a time out. We're going to give some awards out next. We're going to wrap things up. We're going to talk about the transfer portal, and we're going to give our gut reactions right now on who's staying, who's leaving. You're listening to Miner Talk, brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency. We're wrapping things up next right here on 600 ESPN El Paso.
You're listening to Miner Talk on 600 ESPN El Paso, brought to you by the Oscar Arieta Agency, locally owned and operated for 24 years.
Miner Talk is back, 880-5763. That's our telephone number. Middle Tennessee defeats UTEP in overtime, 66-59. That is how we wrap things up here on the Conference USA tournament. This was the quarterfinal round. And like Adrian at Enemy One 3 tweets the show, Adrian, just tell us what you know so we can go to sleep. I love that line. That's such a funny line. I'm going to tell you, and I'll be honest, I'm going to be honest. I have no clue. All this stuff is going to be speculation. I've heard a lot of things. I'm going to tell you this. I'll be honest. I've heard a lot of conflicting things, and I can kind of narrow down some different things. I can tell you, all right, I can guess and say this is going there, or somebody might leave because of this. But let's just draw some conclusions here, okay? What I'm about to talk about for transfer portal, we're both going to give just speculations. This is all speculative, and that's what we do here on Miner Talk. We speculate. This could be our last one of the season, so let's wrap things up and kind of put a bow on this. And hey, if there's another one in the postseason game, we'll be excited about it. We'll talk about that game. We'll break it down. We'll take your calls, and we'll talk about the offseason again if that's the case. But let's do it right now, and I'll answer this question coming in from ATYYY8, who says, why would Sule Boom leave? He gets 40 minutes a game. Where else is he going to do that? It's a great question, and I'll answer it by this. Sule Boom has now played in two different colleges, San Francisco and now UTEP. Sule Boom is also a big member of that Oakland circuit with the Damian Lillard circuit. He played out there in the Bay. AAU is so prevalent over there, and there's a lot of different coaches and different people who are involved in his basketball life. So let's just call it what it is. So when you're Sule Boom and you're averaging a conference leading nearly 20 points a game and you're not named first team all conference, there's the red flag right there. When you're Sule Boom and you're a redshirt junior but you're being honored at senior day, it's another red flag for him possibly leaving. I'm gut feeling right now. I think Sule Boom has played his last game at UTEP. I don't think he comes back. I think the one knock, like if you wanted to argue against me, you would say, well, why would you say that, Adrian, when Sule Boom has developed such a close, deep relationship with Joe Golding? But I think the way that Joe Golding was talking about Sule Boom in his post-game interview today sounded like parting words. Sounded like, he was just so appreciative and almost celebratory toward the fact that they even got a chance to have that player-coach relationship. He said this line, and I'll quote Joe Golding verbatim in what he said earlier today, about Sule Boom. He said, "I've coached a lot of great players. Sule Boom is up there. That is a special guy. He gave us everything he got. The narrative about him playing for himself and playing for buckets is very false." And he said, if you believe that as a Miner fan, you just shouldn't be a Miner fan. He said, all he wanted to do is win. That dude is family to me. So those are kind of words that just make me think kind of cryptic. What do you think, Sal? Gut reaction.
I think it's one of those, I'll be here if you ever need anything. You just give me a call anytime.
You think Sule stays or goes?
I think he goes, man. And if the reason for honoring guys on senior day who are not seniors is because they graduated, then they got their degrees or they're about to get their degrees, and they could leave the university knowing that they have a degree, and wherever they go to, I mean, yeah, you're there to be a student, don't get me wrong, but your primary focus now could be basketball.
Exactly. Good point. Let's go to Keontae Kennedy. He was also honored. However, he's not a redshirt junior. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's still got 2 years of college eligibility left with him. Keontae Kennedy, gut reaction, what do you think?
You know what? I think my gut reaction to Keontae Kennedy is I think he's also gone. And, I mean, yeah, he's a redshirt sophomore, and we mentioned this on the show a couple shows ago. Academically, this guy's stellar. I mean, he's earned so many academic honors, but point is, he's about to get his degree soon. I don't know exactly when, but I know it's going to be really soon. And he can also leave knowing that he has the not only the degree under his belt, but so much more letters available when it comes to eligibility.
Yeah, I'm going to go with you. I agree completely. I think Keontae Kennedy's gone. I think he's played his last game in a UTEP uniform, and I think Keontae Kennedy, there was a really telling quote that I had referenced, in Joe Golding's, one of his actual practice interviews, and he was talking about Keontae Kennedy, and he used the phrase, and he said the line where, he just kind of I don't know if he let it slip or if he actually meant it, but he said, Keontae Kennedy, who had been away from the program, may have not felt like he was a part of the team at that point or a part of the success. And it's conflicting toward when I asked Keontae Kennedy how hard it was for you to be there. He kept saying he was so happy for his teammates. He was very happy about all the players and all the success he had. So want to make that clear that Keontae said that he was more than anything. He was just happy for his guys. He was rooting for them. But there's a difference between being happy for them and being a part of them, being a part of that success. And I think that's maybe what it could lead to Keontae Kennedy leaving, but I'm going to side with you. I think the fact that he was honored is kind of that, that's solidified it right there.
I never seen a sophomore get honored on
No,
senior day.
never seen that before.
It's senior
never.
day, not graduation day.
The last guy who was honored that day, Titus Verhoeven, another redshirt junior. Gut feeling. What do you think?
You know what? For some reason, I think Titus stays. I think,
wow.
I don't know why. I have no concrete reason, but just the feeling that Titus will stay. We got to see a lot of improvement, and if he's not back, then who are you going to rely on in the post? Of course, there's Big Z. If he stays as well, I have a good feeling that he will. But looking across the rest of the board, what about Kalu or Bonky Marion? I know they didn't really get to see the floor as much, but I mean, it could be right for the picking. When it comes to big man play, those could be your minutes. And I think he's really thrived under a Golding system for the final half of the year. So I think Verhoeven stays.
I would not discredit the fact that maybe Verhoeven could go play pro, and somebody might just have heard me say that and spit out their coffee while they're listening to this in the morning since we're recording this a quarter to midnight. But I wouldn't be surprised if he did, because Eric Villa is now playing pro basketball. He is actually doing one of those things where he's playing in Spain right now, and maybe Titus Verhoeven thinks, hey, maybe I could play pro ball. Maybe I could go off and do something like that. So I wouldn't discount that as an option for Titus Verhoeven. Maybe not necessarily entering the portal, but saying, hey, I've had a good run. I've had a good pro college run. It's time to go pro.
And you know what, too? I know I said what I said right now, but also he was one of the guys to put his name in the transfer portal last year.
Initially. Yeah. Good point. Christian Agnew, I'm going to say he's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Saucy had a great initial year with the Miners. Like, he had that X Factor year where you were excited about him. North Alabama leading scorer. And I think that's what's always going to, hover in the back of his brain, is he's going to want to be that same double-figure scorer as he was at North Alabama. He's going to want to do that elsewhere. I would say gut reaction, just gut thought, I'm thinking Agnew's gone, just in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. Ultimately, just kind of looking at the season, didn't really pan out. And I know he had a great pedigree coming into here. But I'll also raise that somebody has to lead the team in scoring on any team, and it just wasn't going to cut it here at UTEP for whatever reason. I mean, today, though, he did great. 6 points, 2 for 3, and he was also
he was great today.
I mean, he provided that spark, but, that's a once in how often type of game, and for whatever reason, it just didn't really come to fruition. A lot of foul trouble for him as well. Definitely has the talent. I think he thrives somewhere else, though. Wherever he goes to, I think he's going to be able to shine, and he'll be called upon as a leader and a veteran because he does have that under his belt now. So yeah.
Let me go through two guards right here. Keza Jifa as a freshman point guard and Emmanuel White as a redshirt junior. Do you think they stay?
I have no idea, but
that's a tough one.
It's tough, but more a bigger part of me is saying that they leave than they stay.
Okay, with Emmanuel White, he could graduate, so I'm not sure if he will, but maybe he could at this point since he's a redshirt junior.
Mm-hmm.
With Keza Jifa, I'm going to say this. I think I've been around practice. He's a guy who is very involved in different things like, just learning what it takes to become a college basketball player. I think he's very young, so I'd be surprised if he left. I really would, unless he went back home or it was a family situation, something like that. Remember, he's from Paris, so he's playing international basketball here in the U.S. for him. That's international ball for him, so he's just learning what it takes to be a college basketball player. Emmanuel White, I don't know. I think like last year, you just compare some of the guys who left. Adam Hess, that was somebody who never could really get off the bench, who also had a JUCO background. Emmanuel White went to Coastal Bend College, has that JUCO background. I don't know, but I do know that Emmanuel White's very good friends with Jamal Bieniemy. In fact, they're childhood friends. They're like high school friends. So maybe that could be something, because I'll go to Jamal Bieniemy. Gut reaction, I think he stays, no doubt about it. I'm gonna say Jamal Bieniemy's back on this roster, no doubt.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, that's word on the street as well. A lot of people saying that. But with JB, I think out of the trio, when it comes to people asking them the question, what are your plans? He's one of the ones that gives an answer. If it's not, I'm coming back right away, you still get that feeling when you hear his answer. So I think JB stays.
I don't think Bonky Maring stays. I think he's gone.
I think so too. Didn't really get to see the floor that much this year, but it's possible that he could. If I had to put a percentage on it, I would probably say like 65 gone, 35 here.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with Cam Clardy because he's dealing with an off-the-court issue and literally in court. So, he's facing some charges right now with the rest. Let's just skip Cam Clardy for now. He's also a walk-on, so doesn't count toward the scholarship. We'll just talk about that. Kevin Kalu. This is an interesting one, Sal. Somebody who is buried in the bench after receiving all-conference USA honors. I don't know about Kevin Kalu. I would have said back in February for sure, but I don't know. In today's college basketball world, when he comes from the background in what he does from Baltimore, he had that nice stint. Maybe he uses that nice stint that he had this year as leverage to go elsewhere and have a bigger role.
You know what? I think it took a lot to get him here. He was a heralded recruit coming into the program. And I think Coach Golding has some plans for him in the future. With this season, things just got really heavy. Miners got on a roll, and you got to go with what got you there in the first place. And also the youngest guy on the team too. We can't really discredit that. But I think he's still part of the team next year and a bigger part of the plans.
I don't know.
I bought too much stock to give up, man.
I did too, but this is like one of those things where Doge just like tanks, and like the Kevin Kalu crypto coin has just tanked at this point, and I don't know whether we're supposed to sell right now, if we're supposed to hang on and
I'll never sell.
Hope for the future. I don't know, man. I don't even want to give a percentage here. I just, gut reaction, I'm gonna say no. I'm just going to say no, okay? Zarek Onyema, I say resounding yes. I think he's back.
Yeah.
Family's invested. Everybody loves the Golding. It's the proof is in the pudding. Look at how he developed. That's just how you can end it right there with Zarek Onyema. Jarrell Satterfield, I also see him staying. That's a Joe Golding guy. Ranger College transfer from the JUCO ranks. I see Jarrell Satterfield staying for sure.
You know what? It's tough for me to call it, but I'm going to go ahead and agree with you, just because I know he caught some fire, early on in conference play. It kind of fizzled out, with the remaining games. But with Satterfield, I still think we haven't even seen the best of him.
I agree completely.
So, yeah, I think he stays and gives it another shot.
I also think Jamari Sibley stays. I think Sibley stays for sure. I'm gonna stick that right there, and I think that he'll be back for 2022-23.
And you know what? I'll go even a step further. Not only does he come back, but I think he becomes one of the leaders on defense.
Ooh, okay.
He showed some great strides these last couple of games. Just the block that he had today was incredible. And also, you could see that he's becoming a little bit more comfortable, not only in Golding's system, but the pace of these Conference USA top teams.
Okay, let's break this down, Sal. Now, if UTEP loses the likes of Sule Boom, Keontae Kennedy, maybe they lose Verhoeven. Who knows if they lose Marion, Kevin Kalu, Christian Agnew, you could think of whatever right there. Those are some of the names that I listed off. That could be anywhere from 4 to 6 guys entering the portal. This is all speculation again. I don't want this to take away from what a great season this is, but I want to throw these things out there because Miner fans should be thinking about these things when the transfer portal season comes. I just don't want Sunday to roll around and a news drop to come in and people just be like, "Wow, I didn't see this coming." It's like, we kind of did see this coming. Like, let's be honest. Like, we did see this coming, and you could say, "Oh, I didn't see this coming from a relationship standpoint." It has nothing to do with it. Again, it has zero to do with it. It has all to do with these players and what they're doing in the background. Might even have to do with these players and what they see from, some of their former players who left UTEP and are on to better things. So for some of these guys, they think grass could be greener on the other side. FEODG, newcomer of the year in the Sun Belt. Anthony Tark, MEAC player of the year, punches the ticket to the NCAA tournament and defensive player of the year last year. He's on the G League team for the Detroit Pistons. Bryson Williams, newcomer of the year in the Big 12. He's also on the first team All Big 12 list, one of the best players on Texas Tech, and the Red Raiders can make a serious run in March. Deion Stroud, he's doing his thing out in Fresno. We've talked about some of the busts. You can list Jordan Lathan, Nigel Hawkins, guys who just never really panned out when they left. Christian Scholin. We can go on and on about this stuff. But point is, transfer portal season is here. It's a reality, and the UTEP Miners are just going to have to adjust to this. They're going to have to use the momentum they had on a 19-win season, and that's how they're going to have to get recruits. They're going to go to people and say, "Hey, look at what we did with this roster right here. Look at what we could do if you came here."
Yeah, and this is exactly it. I mean, I know Coach Golding just finished his first year coaching, but this is really going to be his first year recruiting, so he'll have a lot more under his belt, a lot more to sell, as he alluded to in his post-game show. And for you to win games that you were not supposed to, in games that you were lucky to even be competitive in previous times. Now UTEP is one of those teams in Conference USA that teams are looking at to say, hey, this is not going to be an easy one. So he's got the program going in the right direction, and that's a really, really good selling point when he's on the road recruiting.
Yeah, I'm definitely buying stock on Joe Golding and this staff. So I'm with you on that for sure, Sal. Jamal Bieniemy, Zarek Onyema, Shea Evans, who we didn't mention, from San Diego State, Jarrell Satterfield, Jamari Sibley, Jonathan Dos Anjos, who, by the way, I said earlier I was like Florida, Northwestern, South Florida, whatever. I totally butchered that one. He goes to Florida Southwestern. That's a junior college, one of the best that you're going to find out in the country, and that's where Jonathan Dos Anjos is currently playing. 6'8" combo forward who's averaging about a double-double over there right now, plays for the Pirates, and he's a pretty stellar player. So let's see if he could translate that, what he was able to do at the junior college ranks over here to the Division I level. He'll have to take some tips from guys like Jarrell Satterfield. That's a big thing right there. Sal, what do you think about that nucleus right there? Are you okay with that nucleus?
I'm okay with it as long as at least one of the big three can stay, and that's what it's looking like right now. But a lot of guys that you mentioned there, they got better throughout the season. I mean, we got to see Big Z get his first start yesterday, and it was meaningful. And Coach Golding said it himself. He didn't just throw him out there to throw ODU out of the loop. He threw him out there because it was an actual plan, and he earned those minutes. So also, when you look at the guys that you just mentioned, another offseason getting to prepare and practice and train with each other and learn from Joe Golding, they could be a lot better next year. It'll be tough if you lose two of the big three for sure, but at least you know that when it comes to the system and guys buying in, you could pretty much throw the confusion out the door.
It's almost midnight on a Thursday evening in March, and we still have people listening to us. We still have people tweeting us. Let's go through some tweets. real quick, before we read some of these tweets, just want to say thank you so much to everybody who listened to us all year long. I mean, from UTEP football, which was a lot of fun. I mean, getting a chance to cover a winning program for the first time on MinerTalk in football was a blast. And everybody who listened to us all season long, the bowl game, people joining us out in Albuquerque, spending hours after the game at the PUBG Mobile New Mexico Bowl, taking calls and from fans after the game. When you wrap up a season like this one for the UTEP men's basketball team, where it's an emotional roller coaster ride, I know how invested this community is in basketball and how much they love UTEP basketball. So it just re-energizes me. I know it energizes Sal, but I just wanted to thank everybody for listening to our show and always tweeting us, subscribing to our podcast channel. Really appreciate all that kind of stuff because it really means a lot to us. We get a lot of praise and stuff like that, but it's I always deflect it back to the listeners and the callers and stuff. That's what the lifeblood is of this show and the way that it's grown, over the past 3 years. I mean, 4 years ago, earlier last week, it was the first show that me and Sal ever did together.
Right, yeah.
And then now, 4 years later, we're wrapping up year 3 of MinerTalk, which is just, it's crazy. It's really fun, crazy to think about, man. And, we're good friends off the radio and stuff like that. And, it's just, it's crazy to think. I mean, it's the end right here of the season. It's the end here. We're going to do some podcasts maybe in the off season, but who knows, man? It's we're going to enter the transfer. No, I'm kidding. We'll be back in action.
We're going to transfer
football.
Studios down the hall for the other microphones.
No need to worry about transfer portals with us. We'll be back in action for football season. Not trying to be cryptic or anything, but just wanted to thank everybody for joining us here on MinerTalk. It really means a lot to us. Couple tweets to get to. El Paso Visuals Deportivos. If the best players of college teams that bring the most revenue are leaving mid-majors like UTEP, year in and year out, that's not good. That's not going to be good for all the mid-majors. That will destroy programs every year. Bingo.
Yeah, it will. So you just got to find a way to somehow become the best in your conference and be that big fish in a small pond.
Or you just have to go year by year and just say, hey, let's win it all this year. We're going to just do whatever we can to just win as much as we can this year.
Yeah, that's another way.
Leo_Miner fan, I forgot about Shea Evans. Wonder what happens with him next year and his potential. Evans is big, man. He's a big wing, and he's going to help out the Miners in shooting. He's going to be a knockdown shooter. I like what I've seen from him in practice. He's not as fast as some of these guys. He needs to get better defensively, but I have confidence in him. This one, Fred Morales. Golding is it. Games have the feel of the old Haskins-Floyd era. Intensity during those close contests brings up back the rush of the days gone by. Keep up the extra effort that creates the desired results. Coming from Fred Morales. Joe Chacon, the best part about being in Cali is I'm an hour behind you all. Come on. Come June, I'll be in the same time zone as you guys. Love the show. You and Sal are awesome. #, let's run up the tab when I'm in town.
Cool.
# tabs on me.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, come on, Joe Chacon. I think it's all talk at this point. I don't know if this is ever going to happen, but we appreciate your offer and we appreciate you joining the show here. Oh, Robert Ukiti, Imoni Bates to El Paso. One could dream. There you go.
It.
There you go. Why not? That's like Zion Williamson to El Paso. Hey, what a great season of MinerTalk. I don't know. We might be back. Who knows if we'll be back, but it probably will be the last one that we do here regularly after games. I think the season's in the books. I think they don't go to postseason play. What about you, Sal? What do you think happens?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's time to cash it in. The tone, just the general feeling that I got from Coach Golding in the post-game interview was that
same here.
That they're going to be going, out on the road and recruiting, but at the same time, let's just say for whatever reason the team decides to run it again for for old time's sake. I think Coach Golding will go with the mood of the players, so I think it's going to kind of depend on there's so many variables, but yeah, my gut reaction is no, season's over.
If you missed any of MinerTalk, subscribe, like wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out wherever you listen to podcasts as well. Real quick, we got awards to give out, Sal. I totally forgot. Sal, let's go Hot Hand Award. I'm just going to throw these at you, okay?
Man.
Hot Hand Award. This is thanks to our great friends at Wind Supply El Paso who joined us the entire MinerTalk season. We can't thank Wind Supply El Paso enough. They've been great supporters here on MinerTalk. Renee Diaz always tweets us. He follows along on social media as well. So really appreciate Wind Supply El Paso a bunch. Sal Montes, Hot hand of the game.
You know what? Hot hand. This might be a surprising pick, but this guy was efficient all night in the small amounts of shots that he took. And when he stepped in the game, provided an impact. I'm going to go Alfred Hollins.
There we go. Alfred Hollins, 7 points today off the bench. He gave the team a good spark when they needed to in 13 minutes of action.
Yeah.
Alfred Hollins, our Hot Hand Award recipient today, and that's thanks to Wind Supply El Paso. They are the official supplier of Champion Heating and Cooling products. To locate your nearest Champion dealer, visit the Find a Dealer tab at windsupplyelpaso.com. As people are tuning out, want to give one big shout out to our final player of the game. Thanks to our great friends at Keats Southwest. They've been doing it in El Paso for decades, and Keats Southwest brings us the player of the game after every UTEP men's basketball game. Can't thank Keats Southwest enough for joining us throughout the whole season of Miner Talk as well. Sal, where are we going with this one?
You know what? I think it's an easy one. We got to go Sule Boom.
Ooh.
Without a doubt. I know he was held scoreless in the first half, but player of the game. Not just player on offense. I mean, this guy gets 9 rebounds, also gets 7 steals. 7 steals.
That's amazing.
For a game where it was a defensive showdown. If we're going to talk player of the game and it's a defensive game, that right there should just seal the case. So 7 steals for Sule. Also gets a block. And I think there was a series of back-to-back steals as well.
I think so, too.
In crunch time. So 9 rebounds, 3 steals shy, and also, 3 steals shy and 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. This guy's been incredible for a large majority of the season. Sule Boom, without a doubt, player of the game.
Sule Boom, could it be his last UTEP game in his college basketball career? I guess we'll find out soon enough. 12 points, 9 rebounds, 7 steals, 45 minutes of action, 5 of 11 shooting. He started the day by not hitting a single field goal until the 8-minute mark, and he quickly picked it up and had 12 points to close out the game. If you missed any of Miner Talk, check us out on our podcast channel wherever you listen to podcasts. Can't thank everybody enough for joining us throughout the whole season. For Sal Montes. Sal, do you have anything you want to say before we wrap things up?
I just want to say it was another incredible, assuming this is the last one, another incredible Miner Talk run with you, Adrian. It's always a pleasure, getting to hear from all the UTEP fans and even the haters too, calling in and throwing some salt on the wounds. We love it. That's what it's all about. I mean, it's sports. We live our lives throughout the day, and then we get to come together when it comes to these basketball games. So it's always fun getting to connect with everybody. Always a pleasure. And really, really fun season to watch as well. You and I were going crazy for many of the games this year. Just our anxiety was through the roof, jumping off the walls, knocking the TVs down and then putting them back so no one notices. So it's always been fun, man. And I'm looking forward to next season.
Yep. Football cannot come any quicker. That's what I got to say. We'll have some podcasts over the offseason. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts as well. For Sal Montes, I'm Adrian Broadus. Might be the last time for this season of Miner Talk, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency, right here on 600 ESPN El Paso. Have a great night, everybody.
You've been listening to Miner Talk, presented by the Oscar Arieta Agency. Get started on a home, auto, or life insurance policy at OscarArietaAgency.com. If you missed any of Miner Talk, listen to the show on demand by downloading Miner Talk wherever you listen to podcasts.